And that glorious music, of course, heralds my Sunday sermon. Goodness me, what could we focus on today? Well, I thought I'd focus on a simple word, preparation. And I'm reminded of the British Army's old adage about the 7 Ps. Proper planning and preparation prevents paltry, poor performance. Proper planning and preparation prevents paltry, poor performance. Some actually use a slightly ruder word than paltry that's probably not suitable for a family show, but actually it's a great expression. And the same is true throughout whatever we do in life, through all walks of life. And I'll just give you some examples where actually proper planning and preparation prevents paltry, poor performance, because we can then see how it applies to what's happened in the last 3 weeks. I mean, you think about football teams, whether it's the Premier League or whether it's your local Sunday league. Actually, the truth is with football teams, you know, a good team with a good manager at the start of the season, you're doing loads of exercise, you're getting as fit as you possibly can for the whole team, you know, you're practicing new techniques. No longer, if you're serious about it, are you out on the lash, are you out on the beers, are you out on the martinis? No, you are working hard, you're striving to be fitter than the opposition, because that's how you can progress up the league. Likewise, you know, if you're a runner, then you want to be super, super fit in order to win races, and you'll be practicing different techniques, preparing, researching. If you're a cyclist, again, think about how you prepare, not only super fitness, but also with preparing the kit, the right kit, being in tip-top order. The techniques, cyclists now, you're preparing with wind tunnels, the exact right profile on the saddle, for example, all these preparations. If you're a boxer, you know, you're building up your muscles in the right places. Again, you're looking at the techniques, how you win things, because you've got to be, these are small percentages, the difference between winning and losing. Likewise, think of a surgeon. I mean, a surgeon doesn't just sort of look at the back of a fag packet and then just grab a knife and dig into the patient. No. You plan, you prepare, you study, you practice. You know what you're doing. You think about it as a surgeon, particularly, of course, if you're trying something radical, if you're trying a new technique, a new way of treating a patient. And in a sense, you can see the analogy, can't you, with what's gone on. The former Chancellor and the Prime Minister, they were trying something radical, but it needed preparation, it needed planning, it needed practice, it needed thought. Another example, think of a band of musicians. They don't just rock up and just sort of drum away and strum away. No, they practice and they practice, they prepare, they plan in order to make it perfect. Because if you don't, you're going to have no audience. Likewise, singers. You prepare, you practice. Again, you make it word perfect, tone perfect, note perfect. Again, otherwise you'll have no audience, no buyers of your music. And what we found with the former Chancellor is, of course, no longer has he got any audience. He's lost his job because he didn't practice, he didn't prepare, he didn't listen to advice. Whether you're cooking, for example, food always tastes better with the right preparation, you know, with the right spices, the right cooking. All about preparation. Examinations, we've all done them. None of us really love them, but actually the truth is with examinations, you revise, you prepare, you learn, you listen to teachers, to tutors, because that way you'll perform better, you'll get better results. And the consequences of that preparation is so significant. If you get good results, then you can go on and on, you get better life chancing, better job prospects. Likewise, think about speeches. Some of the best speeches delivered by some of the best orators around the world, you think they deliver them just naturally off the cuff. What you don't realise is they've spent hours practicing, getting all the tone right, preparing in front of the mirror, in front of people who might challenge them, test them, probe them, in order to get it absolutely perfect, so that it feels natural, it feels off the cuff, but it's not. Why? Because, to use that British Army adage, people have planned, people have prepared, people have organised with discipline. And of course, that's exactly the opposite of what we've seen in the last 3 weeks. Think about driving. When your driving skills, for heaven's sake. I mean, again, practice makes perfect. Quite rightly, you have to pass a test. Because if you don't practice, and if you don't know what you're doing when you're driving, guess what happens? You crash. And guess what happens with Kwasi? Well, I'm afraid he crashed and he burned, essentially with his boss, with the Prime Minister. Because the truth is, the consequences of good planning, good preparation, can be life-changing, in the positive. But of course, the reverse is true, isn't it? The consequences of no planning, bad planning, no preparation, bad preparation, again, can be life-changing in the negative. And what we saw in the last 3 weeks with the Prime Minister and her former Chancellor, Kwasi Kwarteng, one of her really close colleagues and friends, was that essentially you had two people organising a bold, radical plan that may well have worked. In fact, I fundamentally believe with growth, 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 the philosophy, the mission, as the Prime Minister calls it, is right. But that lack of planning, that failure to prepare the ground, failure to prepare the markets, failure to actually properly get things organised and tested, meant that chaos ensued. And of course, what happens is when something goes wrong, when something is unexpected, the unintended consequences can just sort of snowball completely out of control. And when you're running the country, when you're basically in charge of trying to maintain and uphold market confidence, then actually that affects millions of people up and down the country who've got mortgages, who are paying bills, who are seeing prices go higher. And when people start planning, and you say to them, well, taxes are going down, so people start planning, and then you say, well, taxes are going up, what happens is, of course, you get chaos. The unintended consequences are spiralling out of control. And in a sense, no one knows where this goes. This truly could herald, for all we know, it could herald the end of the Tory party being in government, potentially for a generation, however long you think a generation may be. I mean, they've been in office for 12 years anyway, and things, frankly, are not working. We're a great nation, as I talked about in my sermon last week, but we know we can do so much better. So many people wanted Liz Truss as Prime Minister to work, to succeed in her radical, bold, ambitious mission. And that mission is right. But the point here, folks, is that a plan essentially that wasn't prepared, that wasn't practiced, that wasn't tested on advisors and thought through, it's led probably to the greatest ever political downfall, the greatest political chaos that I can recall. But you might think of something else. And the impact, and all of this, was because of the failure, to use that old British Army adage, to properly plan and prepare. And that led, undoubtedly, to paltry poor performance. Paltry poor performance is what's happened. And of course, the consequence truly affects tens and tens of millions of people up and down the country. Here endeth my Sunday sermon.